But yeah, let's take a look at the question of how satisfied are you with the results and usefulness of a number of very specific features. So,
Yeah, Fred, you obviously did your homework and looked at the previous one. I didn't, so I don't know the before and after of this, but I think this is an interesting juxtaposition of people wanting AI and automation, and yet the top 3 things or 4 things are anti AI and automation. It's the stuff I have control over. Google Ads Editor, it's a very manual controlling thing. Custom columns, that's because I can control them. Scripts, I'm in control. So, oh, and look, exact match, you're kind of in control. And then conversely, you've got, I can't see, it's very small, but at the bottom, you've got auto apply recommendations in the gutter, Gemma recommendations. What else have we got? Demand gen, optimization score. Broad's got to be in there, surely. Yes, broad match keywords. So, yeah, it's to me that says people are interested in and they want automation, but they're not confident of the automation tools that Google's given them entirely. Now, in fairness, we do have TROAS near the top and probably TCPA. So the bidding engine's pretty solid and people should be happy with that. It saved them quite a bit of time. But there's this interesting, as I say, juxtaposition between what people are interested in and actually what Google's giving them and how dissatisfied they appear to be with some of that automation.
Yeah, and that's fascinating, right? I mean, sort of what do you make of that? Like, is this, as an industry, we're just such control freaks because we
Yes.
came from a place everything in Google was everything, and this is interesting to me. So Google Ads, I mean, there was no conversion tracking. There were like broad match didn't even find typos or spelling variations. So literally everything you had to do in the early days of when it was called AdWords was like you'd have to manually figure out every single keyword, every single bid, every single ad, right? And so we grew up in that. Whereas Facebook and social came in much later when AI and automation was much more developed. And so it asked you to control fewer things. And people who grew up with that probably are more okay with giving away control. So do you think this is kind of like a remaining artifact of the early days, and over time that's going to go away and people are going to be okay with giving up more control? Where is this all coming from as an
I mean, if you look at the distribution of experience, it was balanced to the higher side of experience. So more experienced people are more entrenched typically. I'm experienced, I'm entrenched. I like a spreadsheet, I like a table. Less so an auto recommendation. So there's probably a little bit of entrenchment. And then I think there's also expectations. I think AI is promising the world, but we're yet to see it deliver. And I think once we get to a point where automation becomes truly dependable, then people will flip quite quickly because they'll realize, oh, this thing can do a lot of my work that I didn't enjoy anyway. I was kidding myself that I wanted to sit staring at my Google Ads account. This thing now does it. Oh, I can now work on my client retention, which I was ignoring before, which might be a bit more important. I think there's also probably an edge for people like yourself, Fred, and Wynand, and me to some degree with the SaaS products in finding automations that aren't Google biased that people want to use. So, Google's losing the battle it's fighting in this field, I think, because their motivations are not always the same as the client. So for them to put together an automation suite that will fit everyone is that an impossible task? Probably. I said a lot of things there. So
I'll
there
say,
you go.
I'll say yes. I mean, I worked at Google, right? And so one
We
of
know.
the things that we discussed, I know, have I mentioned it? But one of the things that we considered relatively early on was, should we like split AdWords into multiple versions of AdWords for different verticals and make it easier in that way? And so like no, and then the decision was made, it's going to be one platform with like multiple layers, like an onion where you kind of get deeper into it, but there's not a separate version for travel, for retail. But that then also meant, like you're saying, that you're building this product for millions of advertisers, so it's very hard to meet everyone's needs at the same time, and that may lead to some dissatisfaction in pockets. But I think the other point here is that when we put the survey out, as it's obviously going to PPC experts, people with a lot of years under their belt, as we saw. But if Google was asking, like, is Google Ads working better today than it was 10 years ago for the average advertiser who's not that aware of, like, what does a broad match keyword really do? Like, it's probably working better today, right? So the results on average are going to be better, but the experts who want to take that extra level of control, and like to whom 5% improvement in results does matter when you're spending $1 million a month, they're probably a little bit less satisfied with these things.
I want to still point out that maximize conversion value using target ROAS has won the popularity compared to, for example, manual CPC. And Performance Max has a higher satisfaction than standard shopping in this overview. So there's areas where people have accepted that that kind of black box automation, and there's areas where they haven't, which is at the bottom there. I do think some people also are not appreciating some of the features at the bottom, like add customizers or add variations, which are genuinely useful, and it's up to you how you use them. So I was surprised to see pretty low satisfaction scores there. So yeah, there's it's like clear cut everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, an application of the medium
Mhm.
as well. Sorry, just as a very final thing, I won't hang around on this, but yeah, application of the medium. So people dissatisfied in YouTube ads. If you know how to use YouTube ads and you're using them for the right type of audience and you've got the right type of creative, they're brilliant, but they're not for everyone. And I think there's a little bit of that there. But you are right. PMax is sort of middle of the table on the scorecard. I think the bidding stuff could be higher, quite frankly. I just thought it was very interesting that all the manual things were at the top.
No.